Former Minister of Religious Affairs, Reverend Godfrida Sumaili, has launched a scathing critique of President Hakainde Hichilema, declaring that his leadership marks the lowest point in Zambian's presidential history. In a statement that has stirred political debate across the country, Sumaili asserted that Hichilema's tenure has been defined by poor governance, failed promises, and a disconnect from the realities facing ordinary Zambians. Her remarks come in response to Chilonga Member of Parliament Sipho Lazo, who recently suggested that Hichilema may be remembered as Zambia's best president by the end of his term in 2021. Sumaili, however, strongly disagrees, arguing that the president's flagship policies have not only failed to deliver, but have actively harmed the nation's progress. Central to Sumaili's criticism is the United Party for National Development, UPND's, free education policy, which she describes as a noble idea that has turned into a national burden due to mismanagement. While the initiative was initially welcomed as a progressive move to uplift underprivileged children, Sumaili contends that its implementation has been chaotic, underfunded, and unsustainable. She points to overcrowded classrooms, lack of teaching materials, and overworked educators as evidence that the policy was rolled out without adequate planning or resources. According to her, the government's failure to support the infrastructure needed for quality education has rendered the program ineffective and even detrimental to learning outcomes. Her remarks reflect a broader frustration among critics who accuse the Hichilema administration of prioritizing optics over substance. Despite promises of economic revival, job creation, and institutional reform, many Zambians continue to grapple with rising costs of living, limited access to basic services, and a perceived erosion of democratic accountability. The Reverend argues that the president's leadership style is overly centralized and dismissive of dissenting voices, creating an environment where constructive criticism is stifled and alternative perspectives are ignored. She warns that such an approach risks alienating citizens and undermining the very democratic principles that Hichilema once championed during his opposition years. In addition to education, Sumaili raises concerns about the government's handling of religious and moral values. As a former minister tasked with promoting spiritual integrity and ethical governance, she expresses disappointment in what she sees as a decline in moral leadership under the current regime. She accuses the administration of sidelining faith-based organizations and failing to engage religious leaders in national dialogue. For Sumaili, this signals a worrying shift away from Zambia's foundational values and a disregard for the role of spirituality in shaping public policy and national cohesion. Her critique also touches on the broader political landscape, where she perceives a growing disillusionment with the UPND's performance. While Hichilema came to power on a wave of hope and promises of change, Sumaili argues that the reality has fallen short of expectations. She cites broken campaign pledges, lack of transparency in government dealings, and a failure to address corruption as key indicators of a leadership in decline. According to her, the president's inability to translate rhetoric into tangible results has eroded public trust and cast doubt on his legacy. Sumaili's comments have sparked intense reactions across social media and political circles, with supporters of the president dismissing her claims as partisan and unfounded. However, her stature as a former cabinet minister and respected religious figure lends weight to her critique, prompting renewed scrutiny of the administration's record. Analysts note that while Hichilema still enjoys support in certain sectors, growing dissatisfaction among civil society and opposition figures could pose challenges to his re-election prospects. The debate over Hichilema's legacy is far from settled, but Sumaili's intervention underscores the importance of accountability and critical reflection in democratic governance. Her call for introspection and course correction resonate with many Zambians who feel left behind by the current trajectory. Whether her assessment proves accurate will depend on the administration's ability to respond to criticism, engage stakeholders, and deliver on its promises in the remaining years of its mandate. As Zambia navigates its complex political and socio-economic landscape, voices like Sumaili's serve as a reminder that leadership is ultimately judged not by intentions but by impact. The coming months will reveal whether President Hichilema can rise to the challenge and redefine his presidency, or whether history will echo Sumaili's stark verdict.